Hello. So I just wanted to continue where we left off from yesterday's video. Just as a quick recap, we were talking about food combinations and how I used this in the beginning phases of my weight loss journey to really start seeing results. So in the very beginning I wasn't doing this, but I sort of, as I learned, incorporated these things into my daily habits, and that's when I started seeing the drastic weight changes and start seeing myself literally shrinking as I incorporated these things that I'm going to be doing the videos on one thing at a time. So I didn't jump head first into anything. I sort of did baby steps to get to where I am today, and that's why I'm sharing these videos with you guys so that you know exactly what I did. And if you want to try it for yourself, research it for yourself, see if it works for you. I think it will work for you though, because my sister's been also doing, some of the same things. As I learned, I was actually sharing, what I learned with my friends and family, probably more so than I was doing videos here on YouTube. But, my sister, oh my God, she's so small now. And if you would have saw, the size she was pushing 250, and now she's down to in the 170s, if that tells you anything. So she's smaller than I am. And, we just have been supporting each other and doing a lot of things similar. And not saying that she didn't know a lot of things herself, but, I guess maybe I was somewhat of an example and, and a support system for her, which is really important. Okay, but I'm not going to get off on a tangent about that. The subject of this video, part 2 video, is still talking about food combinations, okay? So last time we were talking about how you don't want to mix proteins and starches at the same meals. So I actually have a little list here. I made got this list from online of just examples of proteins, examples of starches, and starchy vegetables. That way there's no confusion, okay? So proteins can be things like flesh foods, like beef, turkey, chicken, fish, which we talked about, meat, okay? It can also be things like milk. It can be cheese. It can be nuts. Things like that, okay? Things that have, protein in them. High starch vegetables are things like potatoes, lima beans, grains, artichokes, brown rice. Some of these are not vegetables, but they're starches. Yams, pumpkin, corn, beets, pasta, winter squash. Those are things that are starches. So those are things that you should not be mixing with the proteins, okay? Things that are green vegetables and low starch vegetables are things that you can combine with either of those two groups and have a good quick exit, which is sort of how Natalia Rose terms food that goes through your system really quickly and digests, doesn't sit and ferment and rot in your stomach. It's a quick exit food, meaning you eat it and it goes out the other end. It's not sitting in your body, okay? If you read any of the Jason Vale books, which he is, somebody that's near and dear to my heart because I feel like he really got me started on things. This is one of his books right here, Turbocharge Your Life in 14 Days. I was actually trying to find the book about food combining for you, but I'm so disorganized in some ways. It's not on my bookshelf, but I think it's called Fast Food. And that's the one where he really talks about, food combinations. And a lot of the information is similar to Natalia Rose. The way she presents it in her book is a little bit different, but it's all the same general idea. And that's why I say I've read so many different authors that, they go with this same theory until you try it for yourself and see the results. They go with the same theory that combining these foods in the same meal is very detrimental to your digestion, and you're actually creating a slow exit combination, which is how Natalia Rose talks about quick exit and slow exit. So you want to have quick exit foods, not slow exit food combinations. Okay, so back to the green and the low starch vegetables. Some of those are things like asparagus, celery, greens, peppers, bean sprouts, cucumbers, leeks, radishes, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, Swiss chard, broccoli, mushrooms, cabbage, okra, spinach, lettuce, leaf lettuce, string beans, sea vegetables like sea kelp and nori wraps. Those are some things that I really have been enjoying here lately, is the sea vegetables. So that's definitely something that I never ate before, and I just started eating, within the past 3 or 4 months. So but those are the things that you can combine with either a meat or a starch, but not all of them at the same meal. So for example, even though we all have that idea of the pretty little plate with a little bit of everything on it, you would not want to put the potato, the chicken, and then the vegetable together. You would either want to eliminate one or the other of the potato or the chicken and eat it with the vegetable. So that is protein starches. Now, the other food group that I really wanted to discuss in this video is fruit. Okay? With fruit, this is something that it sort of took me a little bit of time to wrap my head around, because fruit is supposed to be like, the light thing that you can do, the apple a day, or, if you're trying to be good for dessert, maybe you have some sort of a fruit cup or some fresh fruit for dessert, and that's better than a chocolate cake or something like that. That was always my impression of fruit and how it combined with other foods, is that it's lower calorie, and that's a better choice for dessert for me. But really with fruit, the way that it's presented in most everything that I've read about food combinations is that you should only eat it alone, meaning that you should never eat it following any other food group. It doesn't combine with any other food group well, is what I understand. So what I did for a long time, and what I still do whenever I do eat fruit, is I normally eat fruit in the morning. So I'll eat fruit for breakfast, because I know I'm eating it on an empty stomach after I've, been asleep for however many hours. Hopefully whatever food I've ate, as long as it's not a slow exit combination, has already exited my stomach. So then when I take the fruit in, there's nothing there holding it up from digesting. And the thing with fruit, which is similar to the meat, but, I guess it's a lot more of a problem or an issue for people, is that when you eat it on top of other food, the fruit goes bad. And everybody knows fruit is a highly perishable thing, Cut an apple open and leave it sitting on the counter. Or cut an avocado in half and leave it sitting someplace. Fruit sitting someplace, or even vegetables sitting someplace for that matter, a lot of times they are going to go brown, they're going to wilt, they're going to start to rot, they're going to mold, strawberries, things like that. So think about that in a hot environment like your stomach. Let's say you eat a normal American, standard diet meal. Let's say you eat a cheeseburger and some fries. And then for dessert, instead of the chocolate cake, you go with, a fruit cup. That's sitting on top of all that other food. It's going to be the last thing to be digested, A lot of times I used to eat the cottage cheese and fruit. That's combining a dairy and a fruit together. It's going to take twice as long to digest. Fruit by itself normally leaves your stomach within about 30 minutes. With the exception of some of the more denser fruits like bananas or melons, papayas, things like that. Sometimes, depending on the density, it can take a little bit longer. But normally within 30 minutes to an hour, it should be out of your stomach. So if you're waking up and you're eating fruit for breakfast, do not follow with any other food groups until you've waited at least 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what kind of fruit that you're eating. Don't eat the fruit with your cereal. I used to be a big cereal eater in the mornings, and I would always add the fruit to my cereal, or the piece of fruit and whatever in the morning. Don't do it though. Eat the fruit by itself, wait, then go on to your next meals. Now, what I was actually doing in the very beginning when I first started seeing results is I was just eating fruit up until lunchtime, and I would eat as much fruit as I wanted to. So if I wanted to eat half of a watermelon, I would eat half of a watermelon. If I wanted to eat 4 mangoes, I would chop them up and eat 4 mangoes. 3 apples, 2 oranges. I would eat as much fruit as I could take. And I'm not talking about the fruit that you buy in the can, that you pop the lid off of or you twist the lid off of. I'm talking about fresh fruit that you buy that's unheated, uncooked, not in its own juices, in its natural form. Okay? So, get fruit. I mean, they do sell a lot of the prepackaged fruit. Like, I like to do the Publix fruit bowls when I'm in a hurry. But when you think about it, you pay so much more for that. And you guys know, if you've ever watched any of my prior videos, I was all about portable and affordable. So, that's something that I would do in a pinch. But most of the time, I would try to make my own fruit bowls or my own fresh fruit cups instead of buying the prepackaged ones at the stores, just due to the price. So, if you want a good place to start, if you're thinking about trying to incorporate the food combinations, proper food combinations, into your everyday diet, start off with fruit in the morning. Eat as much fruit till you're satisfied, and eat it throughout the early morning until your lunchtime. At lunchtime, try doing something like, either, if you can do it, do an all raw salad and put as many vegetables and things in there that you like. And then as you go through the day, move on to your heavier foods. Like if you're going to eat a flesh meal or a meat meal or a heavy starch meal, eat it towards the end of the day. Now that's contrary to what advertising, Kellogg's, everybody tells you. They say you should eat breakfast as your biggest meal. It's the most important meal. And, these are things that we have adopted and just accepted as fact. But you got to test it out for your own body and see what's really best for you. And so that's what I did. And I found that the lighter foods, the fruit, the things that are going to get in my stomach and get out of my stomach and give me energy, calories, nutrients, that's what I need in the morning, because then I don't feel full. I feel I'm ready to start my day. Lunchtime, I used to eat like a Chick-fil-A value meal, which I love Chick-fil-A. I'll still eat it on occasion. I'm not swearing off of anything here. But think about it. You eat a heavy meal combined with a starch and a protein, and then you're eating a potato too if you eat the fries, and then you're washing it down with either a diet soda or a tea or lemonade, whatever you're drinking, or you're taking that massive amount of food that's going to take probably 8 hours to digest, and you're just sitting it in your stomach like right around 12 o'clock noon. So where do you think all your energy is going to go? Where? It's going to go to try to deal with this big clog of food that you just swallowed. If you do that on a daily basis, people wonder why there's such a big market for these energy drinks. Why do people need 5-hour energies in the middle of the day? It's because they've dumped a lot of improper food combinations into their stomach, and their body says, okay, stop what you're doing, let's go deal with this food that Shalewa just ate. We got to digest this food. It might take us 8 hours. Who cares if she has the rest of the day that she needs to get through? So think about that, Think about it literally, like your desk. If you're in there, if you get to your desk in the morning and your desk is clear, you bring in the new things that you need to do for that day one at a time. You got the emails, you got the phone messages, you're knocking these things out. Then someone comes and dumps a huge stack of folders and says, here, you got to deal with this. Where is the rest of your time going to be spent at? It's going to be spent dealing with that huge stack of folders, okay? You might not get anything else done that day. You might just be working on that huge stack, So think about your body in the same way. If you dump a huge meal in the middle of the day into your stomach, that's where your energy goes. You're going to be zapped. Everybody's heard of the itis. If I don't know if that's a commonly used term, but a lot of people recognize that, after you eat a big meal, you're normally tired. And that's because your body has to take your energy to your stomach and digest your food. So, just think about those things. And this was, sort of my part 2 of the food combinations. Definitely, there's more detail to this than what I did in here. I gave you sort of the simplified 101, easy to understand, easy to try if you want to try it. if you have time and you are interested to learn more, read, learn. If you don't have time to read books, just go online, read blogs, read about what these people who author these books and people who have, definitely spent the time to research these things have done. Me, I've done my personal research, and that's how I know it's worked for me. I mean, I'm living proof that these things work. And I've been on every single diet you can imagine. If you name a diet, I bet you I've been on it at some point or another. This is sort of a lifestyle change, and it's the only thing that I can say that has been easy for me to do and has been something that I can sustain myself with, and also something that I feel like I'm seeing the fastest and the best results from. So try to properly combine your foods, research it a little bit more. Those general principles that I gave you, though, not combining protein and starch in the same meal, not eating fruit with any other food group, those are the general things. But there are other food rules that you can go into more depth with, like where does dairy fit in, things like that. Where does nuts fit in? Where do dried fruits fit in? Those type of things are just the the areas that you sort of have to read and get accustomed to. I will do a video on those, but I sort of wanted to move on from the food combination, so this is going to be my part 2. I'll do some extra videos maybe at the end, and we'll talk a little bit more about the dairy items and the dried nuts and seeds, things like that. Just in case you're interested, I'll tell you what I've read, okay? So thanks for watching. Leave me a comment. Like I said, if you are knowledgeable about this subject, I am still a student and I'm still learning. So any advice or tips or knowledge that you can share with me, I am open to it. And like I mentioned in my part 1 video, don't think that I'm advising you to do anything. I'm not a doctor. I don't specialize in any of these things. I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I'm just a fat girl who wants to lose weight, and these are things that I've found to work for me. So, try it for yourself. If it seems to give you results, continue. If it doesn't, try something different. That's what I've always done, but this has been the thing that I've had the best results with. So once again, thanks for watching and have a great night. Bye.